Welcome, everyone, to episode 69 of the SnapCast podcast with your host, the Hormone Monster. We had to do it for episode 69. It was, you only get one shot. That was the ignorant logic I used to convince Brad. That's all it took.
It's not every day your young man turns 69.
That's right. Not sure if you guys have ever watched Big Mouth on Netflix, but hilarious series. And for those of you who have and understand that reference, good on you.
Good on you. We're happy to have you here at the SnapCast.
Absolutely. Welcome, everybody.
Cheers, Mike. Let's be awfully careful.
Absolutely. Cheers. And we say that we need to be extremely careful because today we've got a special episode.
We have some special guests.
We have some special guests, not only the Hormone Monster, but we've got some fake cards.
And some real cards.
Yeah, we got some real cards thrown in the mix. We've got a whole bunch of good stuff.
Spot the real one, spot the fake one.
Chapman knows what I'm talking about. Good on you, Chapman. It's a good show. Very, very good show. But so we've been talking about doing this for a while, just kind of diving into some fake and not so fake cards and kind of looking at them from the average person sort of standpoint, right? I mean, we're not experts in this stuff, but we've been around the block a few times with Magic the Gathering. And as a common player, there's certain things that when you see enough Magic cards, you just pick up on it. You don't.
I am not the primary purveyor of power.
I love the alliteration.
Thank you. I was working on that whole time you were talking. I mean, you have a collection of some power. We deal in some high-end cards, but these should be lessons. Like a lot of the things that we want to talk about are things you're just going to be able to spot with the naked eye, but not because we're coming to tell you that we've got PhDs in authenticating. I mean, BGS gets it wrong.
Yeah. There's some big names out there that these days it's increasingly harder to spot a fake Magic card. But we got some tricks. I alluded to this in a couple of episodes ago when we were just kind of shooting the breeze about I actually put one of my cards up on eBay at one point and I was going to sell it because I didn't know that it was actually a reback.
Yeah.
I was like, you know what? The times have hit. Let's get some money for this. I put it up on eBay and some very educated, would-be buyer reaches out to me and says, hey, you have a reback card. Okay. And at first I'm just like, well, no way. Prove it to me. I need to know beyond a reasonable doubt. This guy, through words, explained and I could verify.
Before we get too far into that, though, one of the things that Chapman said, this is the Proxies episode. One of the things that I want to be certain that we do, because I want this episode to be a resource for people that want to come back to it maybe. You just used the term reback. Let's start right there because there are different kinds of fake cards and proxies. What's a reback?
So a reback is a card that has had its back removed and replaced with another similar looking card. So it's a term to that refers to just when they rip the back layer off the card and replace it with something, and they could do this. And this is another interesting thing we'll get into in this episode and show you some crazy examples. They do it for various reasons, and sometimes reasons you wouldn't expect. There's actually legitimate reasons why cards get rebacked.
Okay, so one of the other things, and I think all of these, I'm going to play interviewer a little bit with you.
Yeah.
In that. In order to understand this, you should probably have a little understanding of how a Magic card is made. Because people are just like, they're wizard squares. They're pieces of cardboard.
Right.
But they're game pieces that were designed to hold up for a long time, to take two different printings, a printing on the front and the back, and they were designed to last. So one of the reasons why rebacks are even possible is because Magic cards are actually a 3-piece layer.
3 pieces in each one of these beautiful little cards that we crack open in packs and throw some of them
When you're looking
out.
at Magic cards, there's a front layer, a back layer, and then a center layer. Some people will tell you, say it's like a foil layer inside of a non-foil card, but these cards are not just a single piece of cardboard that happens to be printed on both sides.
Right.
it's built in layers.
It really is. It's built in layers. It's printed in layers. There is a lot of work that goes into printing a regular Magic card. It's crazy. And you're not expected to know all of that stuff. But there's certain things that once you're used to seeing real Magic cards all the time, that you'll just immediately pick up on.
Yeah.
You'll be like, okay, yep, that looks weird. And after some of the things that hopefully we'll talk about today, you will be like, wow, I never knew that. Like, if you'd be like me trying to sell my card on eBay and finding out, holy crap, I never knew that about Magic cards and how they were printed. And now, like, I use that trick for everything, and it's so easy to spot fakes sometimes because people forget that one little detail. And I almost feel bad putting it out there. I feel like this is the piece of information that Rudy didn't want to be public when he looked at my Lotus and was like, this is real, this is fake. But we'll talk about it. Why don't we cut to that, actually? We'll start with the quiz.
The quiz.
You guys have a quiz today. Move these over just a little bit so people can kind of see. This is all you need to see right here.
Put a little light on the subject.
Shine a little light on this subject. This is all you need to see. Please tell us which card is real and which card is fake. We have 2 black Loti here. One of them's real and one of them's fake. One is the don't shine too much light on it. They'll go watch Rudy's video and see, all the little tricks.
So one of the things that we'll point out is because one of these is a real LP Black Lotus, we're leaving them in the perfect fits.
Yeah, we didn't take them out of the sleeves.
We're not
today.
white gloving this bitch, but we're taking care of these cards.
we ain't running it. So if you see a little bit of a shine on them, they both are in perfect fits. So, if you see that, don't use that as as part of your reasoning. But this is what we'll say: the one in the front is A, the one in the back is B. Please let us know throughout the episode which one you think is real. What is the real Black Lotus?
I love it. So we already have 2 people in the chat that are disputing.
Ooh.
Chapman thinks the one on top is real. Brad Eaton says he thinks the one in the back is real.
Oh, this is gonna be great.
This is exactly what we wanted you guys.
Yeah.
So we talked about rebacks. Why you said that there are occasions where somebody might actually want to reback a card. Let's start with the person that wants to rip somebody off and they're selling a card that is not what they purport it to be. Why are they rebacking it? What are they using?
Well, that's a good question, honestly, because I think there's a ton of different ways that people have rebacked cards in the past, right? You've had everybody from like your high school Magic player, that was just like, wow, man, like back when, collector's edition cards were something and they were like, wow, so the real version is worth 20 times what this is. Why don't I just take the front off of this collector's or international edition Magic the Gathering card and place it on a regular Magic the Gathering card back, and man, holy hell, because that was the only way you could tell back in the day. Like when you had collector's editions and when you had the international editions, technically, I shouldn't say it's the only way you could tell, but it was a very dead giveaway, is the back of the card was different.
Right. And so versus the World Championship decks where they had a different back and a different face.
Yes.
The collector's edition and international edition have what appears to be a regular black border face.
Yeah. So basically the collector's editions, the international editions, the cards actually looked remarkably similar on the front to their real counterparts. And I do mean, and I want to stress the word remarkably, there were certain slight little things that they did that were different. And some of which we'll talk about today, that, just dead giveaways. But
so that would be an instance of somebody trying to pass off what is we would call today a silver border, gold border card as a real card because they are going to put the back on it, the brown Deckmaster back. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, and I'll say this carries through to not only Magic the Gathering, but any commodity or any game out there. If there's ever any real life value to the commodity in question, whether you're talking about digital items on a game or whether you're talking about actual physical cards, if there's some monetary value to it, you can bet your badass there are gonna be people who try to fake them, who try to cheat, who try to duplicate them in some way. There will be. Mark my words, that will always be the case.
The gamer's going to game.
Gamer's going to game.
They're gonna look for an exploit. They're going to try and find a way to get the system to work in their favor. No doubt about it. If something's valuable, if ivory's valuable, people are going to make knockoff ivory, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So you're right. Whatever the commodity is. One of the things. So I have a little list of ways to look at a card that you're trying to judge it, and three of them are really quickly things that you can look at with your eyeball. Does the card feel right? Does the card shine right? If you have a really sensitive scale, actually the weight of a Magic card is in a very specific range.
Yes.
And when you reback a card, because you're not using that centered layer that WotC designed to hold the other two layers together with, you have to use some sort of different glue. And that glue is measurably going to change the weight of a Magic card.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
But I think you have a reback that we might even be able to see the layers on. If we look at the top of the card.
I think, honestly, all the rebacks that I have are very well done. They're very well done. And Chapman brought up a great point. He goes, it seems like they wouldn't go back together right if someone rips off the face and puts it on the back of of another card. Well, what they do is they'll rip off the face of that other card and then, work their magic. And they have, depending on how insane this gets and how professionally you have this done, you can take that layer off very strategically and have it, you know what I mean? So that you don't have all of the frillies in between. They can slice it very, very fine so that you get the exact layer you're looking for. And now all you're worried about is that even layer of glue, or adhesive or whatever you want to, seal them on there with. But for as long as this game's been around, I mean, Christ, I remember being in high school and I was just like, man, I'll never own a Black Lotus. So I remember drawing them, printing them, and just I'd take Elmer's glue and just slap a printed piece of paper on top of a planes or something. And I was like, well, this is the closest thing to a Black Lotus that I'll ever have. So, but to me, it looked as real as possible. But people take that to the next level. You know what I mean? That's kind of what they've done.
Well, and again, some folks are trying to get one over on somebody else by passing something off that's not a real card.
Right.
So with a reback, some of the things you might notice just from holding the card is it might feel a little stiffer, depending on how good they were with the glue that they chose. You may, in some instances, actually see the edge of the card and see that the center layer is visible at the outside edge of the card. Let's take a look at some of the rebacks that Mike has here.
Well, let's do this. Let's play a little fun game. All right, we're gonna show a series of cards under the camera here, and as we go through, you guys got to tell us. I didn't get that. You guys got to tell us what's going on. I hear some voices. Is that your watch talking to us?
Yeah.
Google, always listening. All right, so you give us one of three answers. Okay, is it real? Is it completely fake? Or is it a reback? So real, fake, reback.
Here's the thing, and we're gonna have a challenge to display these cards on camera. Put them down here so they're not just looking at a black screen. Come on.
Absolutely.
Now.
Here we go.
These are out of sleeves now. Whether or not, in order to really tell, you need to touch and hold these cards. But here we have on top of Mox Ruby.
What do you guys...
Clearly HP.
Oh my gosh, heavily played Mox Ruby. What do you guys think of this? What do we think this is here? Is this real? Is it fake? Is it a reback? What do we think? And I think, to be fair, we should show the backs of each card too, just in case,
So let's just take one card at a time.
Absolutely.
Pull those out.
Absolutely.
So this is the Ruby. Again, clearly heavily played. Somebody, it at least appears that somebody played this on the sidewalk, unsleeved. It's got some dirt on it.
What does the back look like? We got We got to show that off. We got to get it consistent so that if something is rebacked, people see the reback they see the back for every card.
Yeah. So here's the back of that ruby. And this is also showing some scuffs. A lot of edge wear, but not nearly the wear that's on the face of this card.
Okay, interesting observation. All right, next up, we have a very beautiful. Here it comes. Can you guys guess what it is? It is a Mox Emerald. All right,
Yeah.
this one should be, once we teach you the trick, you're going to be able to pick this one up right away and know exactly what this one is. Whether it's real or fake, you're going to know right away.
We're also not giving you a super zoom on this. You can see a huge crease across the center of this. Showing you the back, you can see that crease is all the way through the card.
Looks like someone folded that card up, put it in their wallet. Maybe they took it to a convenience store. Like this they tried to buy a soda with it or something. Like, I promise you this card's going to be worth something someday.
Well,
screw off, sir. Yep, and if you were really curious about the crease, Brad is zooming in on it right here so that you can see exactly what it looks like. Because if you could handle this card in real life, you'd pay extreme attention to this crease to see what sort of information it tells you, whether it's real or fake or what the hell's going on.
Right, I'm looking for that center layer.
Right.
Really hard to manipulate.
Chapman says, Emerald fake because of crease.
Interesting.
No real cards can be creased.
Okay. No real cards can be creased. Can you tell me a reason why a real card might have a crease, though? Besides somebody using it to play at their convenience store. Is that a jet? Yeah.
This is a Mox Jet. What do we think here?
So real, fake, or reback.
Otherwise. Real, fake, or reback. What do we think of this here Mox Jet? This is in pristine condition. What a beautiful looking card. What's the back of it look like? We got to show it for all of them. Just in case someone calls reback on this beautiful piece of art.
That is a pretty clean looking card. Can't lie about that. The back looks like it's in pristine condition.
What a pristine piece.
I mean, just in general, that card, I'd get that bitch graded.
Oh, man, it's just so beautiful and shiny. Shiny, shiny, shiny. All right, now we've got one more in the series of 4 cards here. We're going to put down a Mox Pearl on camera here. And look at this. What set is that from, my friends? What set? What set? Or should I say, let's answer the question first. Is it real? Is it fake? Or is it a reback? What do we think of Mox Pearl here? Brad is putting up he has actually a little magnifying glass here as well. And I'm surprised how well it works on camera, dude. Like, it's actually zooming in, doing its thing.
Let's look at the back of this pearl.
Yep. And after we show you the back of this, we're going to
go back.
Yep, we'll start in reverse order.
Oh, we're just going to go from here back?
Yeah, why not? All right, so what do we think? What a beautiful looking piece of art. Look at that. The corners are worn. That's just it's so obviously fake. This Mox Pearl is fake. And here's why. The back of that card is real. However, this is a prime example, and you might have been able to see Brad has a little light that he's shining over this. So one of the things, there's a couple of big things here. So we have, first of all, and I want to make sure I got my facts straight so I'm not spreading bad information here. But we've got a couple of things that we can look at. So let's go up to the top here. And this is actually, here's what I can appreciate about this printing of Mox Pearl, is that it looks like they actually took a real scan of a actual Mox Pearl and did this.
And
so
the word scan there is very important.
yes, the word scan is very important. You can see some discoloring in the title there. You see how it's like extremely gray looking? Like it just doesn't look right. But the first thing I ever look at in any card, any printing, any fake or anything, is the mana symbol. I cannot tell you how much as a common dumbass, not smart dude, I can tell from just looking at the mana cost of a card, giving a close examination of it. So Brad is zooming in on this right here. You can see how fuzzy that circle is. Like you can tell it was printed secondhand, like it's a printing of another card. But additionally, and I know you guys can't really like hold these in your hands, this one feels heavy. Brad had mentioned that like cards have a certain weight to them. It feels a little heavy. And sometimes people can get that confused. They can be like, oh, well, it's a beta card or it's an alpha card. Maybe they printed them on different card stock back then. They didn't. Like, use your gut. If it doesn't feel like the weight of a Magic card, you should probably question it by the very least. But another thing there is when you shine that light on that card, you can see this is just literally, we might even be able to peel up a corner. Yeah, I can. Look at this. This is going to be perfect. I can peel up a corner of this card to reveal a Bone Shaman underneath. This was a very shittily done fake where someone just took an older card. You know, they took the old Bone Shaman because it's probably from, you know, one of those older sets, and they slapped on they slapped on a new front to it. With, you know, some parchment, like it kind of feels like parchment, but look at that. This is a perfect angle. You can see that black sheen on the card.
Well,
you see
and
how
you can see these, like, I'm trying to figure out if these horizontal lines are actually from the printing that was done on the card. Do you see that over there? No. Okay.
Yeah, it's really weird. Like, if you get this in a certain light, like the black almost shines more than the rest of the card, which is definitely not how things should be. With a regular Magic card, the edges should sort of absorb the light a little bit.
This we probably should have said earlier. To our audio listeners, yes. Feel free to go to YouTube because otherwise this episode might be a loss for you where we're sitting here trying to describe cards.
Well, we're doing a good job of describing things here too. But, you know, the dead giveaway here for me is if you really hone in on that mana symbol, you can tell it's fuzzy. It's not printed right. Something doesn't look right about it. And that is always the first dead giveaway. Yeah. So that is, if you guessed fake on Mox Pearl, you nailed it. Absolutely 100% nailed it. Now, what about this one? We're going to show you next the Mox Jet that we looked at, this beautiful specimen here. And this one, what'd you guys pick? Now, here's a good one. Look at that. Look at the mana symbol. How's it look? What is she?
So let's...
And I love how you're using the light here, too. This is going to be really good. This card is not in a protector. This card is not in anything. But you can see when you really get in close. So Brad is going in really close on the mana symbol. Look how blurry it is. It's not smooth. It's not... I mean, it's close. Like, this is good. But it's just something not right about it, right? You can just tell the gray kind of goes into the border a little bit. It just doesn't look right. But the dead giveaway about this card and why this Mox Jet is fake is it's too shiny. It's too shiny.
And that's a hard thing to catch on the camera here.
It is. But that's why I was happy that you had some light there to bounce it off. The front of it looks amazing.
I mean, the actual black in the jet looks like... Well, there you go.
Yeah, nice angle right there. So what Brad's showing on the camera here is he's shining the light right into the jewelry of this Mox Jet, and you can see it bounce right back off the card. This is the legendary, what they call a Chinese fake. And if you ever have these, right? If you ever have these in your hand and someone's trading you for these at the card shop or whatnot, you can pick these up. You can pick these up and run your thumb across them just like this, and you can feel the slickness of this card. It's just like your thumb glides across it like it's plastic or something, like it's a credit card almost. You know, that's how it feels. And that is a dead giveaway. That feel on the face is a dead giveaway for that Chinese fake.
But I have to say, if we were playing a powered format and you had that double sleeved across the table from me,
never be able to tell.
Never be able to tell.
Yeah, that's the other thing about Chinese fakes is like, if we really look at that mana cost, we can tell that like some of the ink isn't printed right, but you have to look hard, man. Like you have to look hard. The Chinese fakes are extremely good. Like they are very well printed. The printing quality on the Chinese fakes, unrivaled. They're very, very close to the originals. And especially, and what we're going to point out to in a minute, we're getting to this, they actually nailed the number one thing that I look for in mana costs, and I'll tell you more about it in a minute, but they have the mana cost oriented correctly, which is something where I say they must have taken a very high resolution scan on both of these fakes to, you know, of the actual card to be like, you know, this is how the actual card is. Because if you take the wrong one, if you find an image file online that's like International Edition, and you just say, the fronts look the same, fuck it, and you just take the front and print that on, something's going to be wrong, and we're going to point that out in a minute. That is just dead giveaway. You can pick right up on it. And in fact, why don't we just dive into that one? You know, it's going to be one of the next two. It's going to be one of the next two because we don't, you know, we want to keep them guessing. Was it the Mox Emerald? Okay, look at that mana cost. Look at, we could even zoom in. We could probably zoom into that.
We can definitely. So we want to look at the mana symbol here.
I'm going to look at, you know, the things I've been talking about before, the quality of it. Yeah, look at that. That quality is really good.
The quality here is really good. And one of the other things that we haven't quite talked about is the printing pattern that WotC uses is very specific.
Yes, you can see that rosette pattern is what people call. There it is. Yeah. Nice view of that. You see, okay, take a close look at that mana symbol right there. You see how it's like, even when you're zoomed in, you can see a very fine line. You can see a very fine line in how that's printed. Like, that's very well done. You know, the rosette pattern is there. Like, you can tell that is an authentic printing of a card right there. You can see the smoothness in that circle.
Yeah.
So what did you guys think? Is this the fake one? Is this the rebacked one, or is it the next one? What do we think? There's a crease in it. You can see all the layers.
You can.
But even though there's a crease in this, and you might look at it and be like, well, shit, I can see the insides of this card. It looks great. I can see the back side, the front side. If you guessed reback on this card right here, you nailed it. And here is why. So this was an international or a collector's edition card right here. And the front of this was taken off the collector's edition card, and it was put on the back of a real beta card to add to that authenticity, to that look, that feel. So this is technically two real cards.
It is. It is two pieces of two real cards.
And that's why the printing of that mana cost looked really good. Wizards, they printed this.
Wizards, right. WotC printed the front of this card and they printed the back of this card, but not together.
Absolutely. So what happened here, and let's get into the number one piece, the dead giveaway for most rebacks. Whenever you see a black bordered reback, this is the thing to look for. Look at that mana symbol, and this is going to be ever so subtle, so I want you guys to look very, very close. That 0 that you see in the mana cost, you can see, and Brad is kind of honing in the camera now to really look at it, but the 0 inside that circle, think of the orientation inside the circle. That's a good view of it. Good enough. Yeah. So look at the orientation of the 0 inside of the circle. You see how it moves like it's not directly in the center of the card, in that circle. That 0 is not directly in the center of that circle.
No, it's slightly into the center of the card.
Yeah, it's slightly, if you're looking at it face to face, that 0 is slightly to the left. And that is a huge indicator that a card is international or collector's edition. Because on the opposite side of this, remember when I was saying that there were some cards that actually nailed what I'm looking for? This is how, we're going back to the Mox Pearl here. You can see this is what immediately is a dead giveaway if they don't get it right. But you see that 0, how it's slightly to the right, if not in the center, slightly to the right? That is an indication that it is a real card. It's the first indication, the first good sign.
Right.
I'm not going to say this makes it a real card, but if you didn't get that, piece of the mana cost, you fucked it up.
Right, you'd spot that right away. Before even looking at the printing quality.
This is the thing, right? This is the thing right here that the seller on eBay, this was the card right here that I put up, I thought was real. This looks beautiful. It had the fold in the middle. I could see all the layers, but he pointed that out to me. He said, the 0 is not positioned correctly inside the circle. And he says, I don't expect you to take my word for it. He goes, please go look at a real beta Mox Emerald online and check out the orientation of the 0.
Yeah.
So sure as hell, let's bring that up. Let's see if we can do that. Let's go look at a real beta Mox Emerald in the orientation of the 0 in that mana circle and see where it is. You will notice a very stark difference. Remember, this one this was shifted to the left a little bit. Brad's trying to get the highest definition scan that he can of a beta Mox Emerald to bring it up here. And really with any artifact, we might be able to tell, but ideally it would be, we'd find a Mox Emerald to bring up, but ideally you could theoretically do it with any artifact. They'll all be in the same place. Oh, we're coming up on them, mate. There it is. All right. So this is,
talk about a high quality scan.
So this is go to the Mox Emerald of this.
Oh, sorry.
And yep, that's perfect. Go in. Look at the orientation of the 0. The 0 is to the right.
Yeah.
The 0 is oriented to the right. In the collector's edition, in the international edition, the front of the card, Mox Emerald, that 0 inside the circle was more to the left of the circle than it was in the real version.
If we go back to ours.
Yep, you can see it's like center, more right, or more left, sorry.
Yeah.
And in the real version, it is more to the right. It is so slight, and it's one of those things that I don't think a lot of people know about, but it's definitely something when you're looking at these older cards. Brad's bringing up again here the rebacked international version, and that is slightly to the right. The real version, that 0 is the 0 is slightly to the right in the real version. It is slightly to the left in the international version. So if you see that, if you see these black border cards, it's a dead giveaway. If the number or the mana symbol in there is just shifted slightly to the left,
towards the outside of the frame,
towards the inside of the frame.
Okay,
it is likely a rebacked card.
Yep.
It's just remember it this way. It's out in left field somewhere. Like this mana cost is out in left field somewhere. That's how I remember it.
Reback.
Yeah, then it's probably a reback. If that mana symbol, if the number within that mana symbol is out in left field, it is likely a reback, and that is 100% what a lot of the fakes, even I've seen some Chinese fakes fuck that up, and they do not get that orientation of the 0 in a lot of the Moxen or Lotuses. They do not get it in the right position. They have it too far in to the left.
So what was that the first card that we started with, or did we start with the ruby?
We did show off that ruby, didn't we? Where'd the ruby go? Right here. Okay, so what do we think of this ruby? I think you guys might be able to pick up on some things right now. We're going to go right back down through this ruby. I'm going to show you the mana cost, and I will point out that this right here, if you guessed that this is a real card, you'd be half right. So this is an interesting conversation piece for the cast right here, because
This was an intentional reback.
This was an intentional reback. So we're going to zoom into this 0. You can see it shifted to the right. Right is right. If it's out in left field, it's wrong.
Center right is good. Up a little bit, like higher in the circle, is also okay.
Yep.
You can tell, you see that rosette pattern that's almost like a honeycomb in the printing?
Yep.
That's definitely a WotC printing.
And this card is also beat to shit on the front of it. So, like, it looks absolutely horrid on the front of it. But this is the actual real front of a Mox Ruby. And this is the conversation piece about this card, right? Let's look at the back. Brad pointed this out. This back looks significantly different than, I should say, it looks to be in significantly better shape than the front of the card.
Yeah. There's edge wear, but the front wear on this has like this vertical wear, almost like shuffle creasing. That's what I would call what you see at the top of this card. A lot of shuffle wear.
Yep.
And on the back,
clean as a whistle. Just about. I mean, there's this card was professionally rebacked, meaning someone took this Mox Ruby to a professional and said, I'm concerned about the life of my card here, essentially. Yeah. This is beat to shit. I need you to fix this. Can you fix the quality of this card? And likely what happened is they had a long conversation. Look, I can preserve the integrity of this card, but you're going to kill the value of it, and at the time, I'm sure it was something that they came to as a good idea because probably this guy who was running this Ruby only cared about using it in tournaments. That's probably all he cared about. Technically, if you took this to a tournament, I can guarantee you there's not a judge that would pick up on it.
That would pass muster.
It would pass muster. It's got the bend test going on. It feels right. It's the right weight. It's a definite real printing of the card. It's white bordered. That's another thing that's usually people don't fake the white borders of them. Of course you got Chinese fakes, which are easy to spot, but like usually if you're going to reback a card, you're not going to do the white bordered version because there's no white bordered cards to reback.
So there's two things in all of that I want to pick up on. Can you do me a favor? Reach over there and just grab some crap comment out of a box over there. Sure. So one of the things that Mike mentioned there, and I actually brought this up when we talked about the Emerald, is that there is a reason why this card might be creased. Because if somebody didn't believe that this was a real Magic card, there is something called the bend test, which is Magic cards should bend without breaking. Like the glue on the inside of a card shouldn't snap. But when you have the wrong kind of binding agent in the middle of the cardboard, it will actually...
Oh yeah, sometimes you can hear it. Like when you bend it like this, sometimes you can hear a weird sound. A lot of times with high value cards, they don't do that bend test.
No, they don't want to put that kind of wear on a card unless they're really sure it's fake.
So it's hard to tell with that Mox Emerald if it was bend tested, because part of me thinks that if that was in good condition and bend tested just to test it, it would have passed. And what I mean by that is, when you look at the layers of it, when you do a light test, the layers of it actually look very good. Meaning, and also if you bend another area of this, it bends pretty well.
It's pretty flexible.
Yeah, so something tells me someone purposely bent that card.
to make it less conspicuous.
to make it people question it less. If you can see all of the layers of the card, you'll have those people who are like, oh, you can see the layers, blah, blah, blah. Well, here's a shitty condition Mox Emerald that you can look at the layers of in real time. Like, you don't even need a light. You can look at it sideways and see every layer of the card. It's very well done. And I think someone purposely bent it to show off their handiwork with gluing two pieces of cardboard together. Because it is very well done.
It is very well done.
The dead giveaway with the Emerald was just the placement of the mana cost. And that is single-handedly, since I learned that on YouTube, or on eBay, that is single-handedly what I look for in any black bordered card now. is I look at the orientation of that mana cost. Where is the mana symbol? Right is right. If it's out in left field somewhere, something went wrong.
All right, so Mike just showed us an awesome collection of power of questionable provenance, we'll say. Power of purportedly impropriety provenance. We're not, some are fake, some are Chinese prints, some are rebacks. There are really bad proxies out there. So I have a whole collection of cards that were lent to us by a friend of the cast that just, these are terribly printed. Like, you don't need to know any secrets about collector's edition. You don't need to know anything about the what do we want to call it? The framing, the registration of the mana cost in these cards. You don't need to know anything about
you can feel
collector's
it. You
edition
can see it
to know when you look at this that this is just a poorly printed card. And actually, that's funny because, Mike, here's a Mox Pearl.
Hey, look at that. And did they get the orientation right? They did not. It is left. It is to the left. Something's wrong. Immediately from the visual, now I can tell. This person who printed this grabbed the international version and thought they were Swift. And they printed it right on a card, but that is incorrect. It's out in left field somewhere, folks.
Well, and you don't see that. So we talked about that rosette that comes from WotC's Real Printing God. This is looking, the camera work is looking awful, but however, like, you have to have seen a fair number of Marsh Flats, but I think most modern players are going to see this across the table.
Oh, yeah. Look at the text box of this card. Don't even shine the light on it. Like, let the natural light show the text box of that card. Look how fake that looks.
Yeah.
Like
the friggin' the fade.
That's so terribly
look
done.
at the printing at the bottom.
Yeah.
These are awful. Like, wrong fonts. These are nobody's going to fall for
it's
these.
Horrible. You can't even read that card.
The print quality here again is just so questionable.
But yikes.
Meanwhile, we have those, and then we're going to bring up another set of proxies that were purchased on eBay. Nice little Liliana box that these came in. 56 piece hologram set.
Oh, that's beautiful. You gotta appreciate the fact that they they put a good box out there for us. Oh my God, that looks terrible. Like, I don't even need to see that up close. Can you guys see that on camera?
Honestly, these look pretty good to me. I think that these are much more passable. Like, the font is consistent. The shine is off, but there is even a hollow stamp on these. Like, so this is supposed to be a Modern Masters reprint.
Mm-hmm.
Except it doesn't actually have the WotC hollow stamp. It's just a flat, shiny piece. There's no Planeswalker symbol in these. So these are a lot better than some of the others that we looked at. But the shine coming off of this, like where the light is reflecting, is horrible.
Yeah, I'm looking at this card up close, and it just does, the color of it just doesn't look right. But another thing that I always do with any cards that I trade for is, like, I run my finger over that little shiny piece. The little, you know what I mean? That little,
little
like,
shiny piece.
Yeah, the new shiny piece that they put on there at the bottom of cards. If it feels weird, like if it's too bumpy, it's probably not right. Like,
yeah, it should be in the card and part of the card. It shouldn't be a sticker on top.
Right. Like it's in a lot of times people will get crafty if they're faking cards these days, especially with the little hologram thing or whatever. They'll depress the cardboard and put that in there. They won't just stick a sticker on top of it because it's a dead giveaway.
Yeah.
But you can feel the depression if you run your finger over it.
I feel the depression every day, Mike.
Oh, slam. Yeah, but you can feel it. It's a dead giveaway. If you can feel that and it's very pronounced, that's your first clue right there. So if you're looking at a new card that has a hologram graphic at the bottom, that little circle, little opal looking circle, run your finger over it. If you can feel it, if it's overly bumpy, like, you can really feel the edges of it, take a real good close look at the card.
So how about we go back to the main attraction?
Let's do it. We asked you guys a question at the beginning of this cast.
We still have them stacked the same way.
We still got them stacked the same way. I can't even remember what I said was A or B now, but you guys, now that we've taught you the tricks, you're going to be able to nail it. I have no doubt that you guys will be able to nail this now. I can't remember what I said was A or B, but let's say this. A is the one in front, B is the one in back. We're looking at 2 black lotuses right now. One is fake and one is real. With the new tricks that you have, you should be able to nail this now and say, this one is clearly fake. I know exactly what the real one is. A is on top, B is on bottom. What do you guys think? For the audio listeners, I'm going to describe these, and I'm going to give you some key details that if you've been listening, you'll be able to tell as well. The back Lotus looks very good. The rosette pattern is amazing. Both of the rosette patterns on these cards are amazing. Both the fonts are amazing. The colors look good in the font. The borders look okay. The ink looks great on both of them. There's one dead giveaway, and it comes down to my favorite thing, the mana cost. One of them
is way in left field.
One of them is in left field, and one of them is on the right. So the one in the back, the 0 is skewed to the right of the circle, and the one in front, it's skewed to the left. So let's say the one in front is A, and the one in back is B. Which one is the real Black Lotus? What do you guys think? If you said B, the one in the back, this is correct. This is the real Lotus. It comes right down to the mana cost of the card. You can see that in the fake, this is a Chinese fake, by the way. You can see that with the mana cost here, they skewed it. They took an international version when they scanned this, and they got the mana cost skewed to the left a little bit. So that right there just says this is incorrect. This is not the right one. I know that mana cost now, after watching the SnapCast podcast, the mana cost should be to the right. Therefore, this means this Black Lotus is real. And yes, of course, if you were wondering, this was the Black Lotus that Rudy reviewed on his channel. I'm going to see if I can show off the little crease for people to show them. Where did he say it was? Was it in the front or was it in the back? There's a little thumb
crease in the back, like
yes.
a little...
There it is. I'm not sure if you guys can see this. There it is. There's that crease Rudy was talking about. That is the real Black Lotus. And I'm going to flip this over so you guys can see the front side. I don't have a protector on it. God, this feels so bad. Turn this around. This is still the real Black Lotus with that mana cost skewed to the right. There it is, my friends. I feel so bad. I got to put this back in a protector.
So one of the, so now that we know which one is fake, do you mind if I take this one out of a sleeve?
Absolutely, go for it, man. Piss on it if you want to. I really, at this point, I mean.
So one of the things that was asked in the chat is, do either of them pass the green dot test? So the green dot test is
very well done.
This is very well done. This is also stupidly hard to capture on camera. I may not be able to get it. So I'm going to do this with the naked eye. Hold on. I'm going to just...
Do you have the other magic card, the random common you were looking at there? We could probably use that as a... yeah, it's right here. I'm going to check this out while Brad...
Right, so... One of the things that Brad Eaton was talking about was the when you're looking in the highlight area of the green dot, you'll actually see the registration pattern, you'll see cyan, magenta, yellow, black in there, and you'll see a collection, this almost like little circle of multicolored dots. This card has it. This card has a collection of those multicolored dots, but they're almost in perfect rows. They don't give you the impression of a circle. So I'm going to pass this to Mike.
Yep.
Take a look at the green dot in the highlighted area.
No, I'm having trouble getting it. There we go. Okay. Yep. It's very mechanical looking. It's very
right. You
square.
see like almost like lines of colored dots in the green.
And now, they look remarkably similar to me. They look remarkably similar to me.
Unfortunately, we cannot see through each other's eyes, so I don't know.
I'm like, also the least observant person I know.
You have to get it, like, in order for me to see these.
See, I could never do the green dot test because Chinese fakes, I will tell you this.
I have to get this up to my face in order to see.
Yeah, Chinese fakes are very close. Like, they're very, very well done in printing quality.
You guys, I'll be right back. I'm just going to go pee on a black Lotus. Just so I can say I did. No.
Dude, but those Chinese fakes, the ones like this, the problem with it is, and Brad alluded to this, is if you're across the table and someone has these in a protector, you're never going to tell the difference. Like, they look very, very good. Even if you get up close and you do some close inspection through a card sleeve, it looks really good.
So, I'm going to bring up on the computer, because Brad is asking again about the green dot test. So, again, we started at the top of this cast. We're not the provenance professionals. We're not grading your cards. We're not authenticating your cards. These are tips and tricks. But there are a ton of resources. So, on Facebook, there is a Magic the Gathering Counterfeit Detection group.
Wow.
And I shared one of my experiences with some recent cards that I picked up on Facebook. I got this talisman of indulgence in the mail, and it made me question my other talisman, which was the talisman of dominance. Because as you can see in these screenshots, how different the coloration is in these two cards.
Yeah, it looks really weird.
Right. So just to see them side by side is super questionable. And then I tried to get some photos, but I could not get into the green dot thing that Brad is talking about.
Yep.
So this is dominance, this is indulgence. And I'm struggling. And finally, I was able to get in, but you still can't quite make out. There is... Wow, and these look way different on each monitor.
Yeah. Just noticed
that.
There
is like a little circle of red dots in the center. And it is here too, except... When you look at indulgence, look in the bottom left of the circle of the green dot. All of the layers of the colored printing are very close to being perfectly aligned. They're stacked right on top of each other the way they should. In the dominance, the black circle is just offset, which is saying that there's a print layer or multiple print layers are not properly aligned. It shifts the color of the whole card entirely, but it is a real card.
That's crazy. And you can tell from those patterns. When you pointed this out to me, I was like, the pattern looked exactly the same. Like, if you looked at the card on the back, like, you know, if you looked outside the circle, the pattern looked remarkably similar.
Yeah.
And I was like, these, you know, I mean, they're shifted a little bit, but you can tell they were printed in the same way.
Now, wait. Yeah. Can I ask you guys in the chat, are these actually showing up in YouTube as black circles? Because they're...
No, that's just your monitor resolution.
Is that just my monitor?
Yeah. If it's black, though, I mean, let us know. But we're looking at two different monitors right now, and I think one of Brad's monitors is, like, completely terrible.
Yeah, I don't know if, like, this is a counterfeit protection thing where, like, you know, you can't scan a dollar bill, it shuts the copier off.
No, they are black. No kidding. It is showing up black. What is wrong with your camera, Brad?
Well, that's not the camera. That's the screen capture.
Oh gosh, that's odd.
If I go over to the stream view, it all looks fine.
Well, the good thing is though, is you can actually still see, I think, with that, even though for whatever reason on Brad's monitor the green is showing up black, But I'd almost rather it be this way because you can see. It actually makes it easier to see what's going on.
Well, right. So you see here, the printing is almost perfectly aligned. There's just a little bit of visible.
Look at the bottom left of the circle.
Yeah.
Yep. And then you can see shifts up a little bit.
Right. And so the difference in the color between these two cards is that shifting of the alignment of the RGB or CMYK, process.
Yep.
Offset printing.
Yeah, and with the terrible lighting of the camera there, is actually a blessing in disguise. It actually made it easier to see. The real color is not what it appeared to be there, but it worked out perfectly because it outlined the black and you could see where that was printed and where the rest of it was printed, and it was slightly shifted. So to the naked eye, it looks like the color is a little off. Truth be told, it was because the printing presses weren't completely aligned, but you can still see the pattern in them.
Yeah.
You can still see that consistent pattern with how they were printed on top of each other, each layer. That's very cool.
So if I called this like one of those instances where, oh, you buy a green car, suddenly every car you see on the road is green. We started talking about doing this episode, and I immediately was like, these cards look totally different. I don't think these cards are right. I had 4 or 5 very capable and experienced Magic players over here that all looked at them and they couldn't decide. Like,
they were in the tank about it.
They were in the tank. Some were like, no, I think it's fake. Some were like, no, I think it's a real card.
Yep.
And so finding that resource on Facebook, the MTG Counterfeit Detection group, where if you can post clear enough photos or scans, people will point out all the ways in which random print runs from Europe are off-centered. Random, like...
That's crazy.
So you can have a card that you look at and it passes every test except for one, and for most people, they're going to say, it's probably good.
Yeah.
Like, you have to fail 2 tests.
It depends on the value of your card. The reason I sent that Black Lotus into Rudy is because it almost certainly failed just about one of anybody's tests. They would just be questioning it. They would be like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? There's so many tests out there, but there's also so much inconsistency with the way that Wizards prints their cards.
Yeah.
There's so much you have to take into account. As the common person, just knowing some of these quick tricks to be able to look at, knowing that there's resources out there. What's that Facebook group called again, Brad?
MTG Counterfeit Detection.
MTG Counterfeit Detection on Facebook. If you aren't in that, request to be in it. It looks like a pretty good resource of people that know about this stuff that can actually give, it looks like very good, well-informed feedback. You're not going to get, many trolls on there telling you, there's some good people looking at these cards.
If you post something that looks like it was drawn in crayon, they're going to laugh you out.
Right.
But if you have a reasonable question about a card's authenticity, people want to brag to you about what they know. Actually, in 2002, in the Belgium printing,
right,
they didn't have CMYK, so they doubled up on the Y. And
that's one thing. One thing that's cool about Facebook too is it's people's actual real name usually that they're on there with. So unlike Reddit or something where you have like some crazy ass handle and
anonymous
people can they can hide behind it. You don't get many trolls on this because it's people's real name, real identity that they're sitting there talking to you with. So very good resource. Would highly suggest that, and put some of these tricks that you might have picked up on the cast today here to use, especially that mana cost. That's the number one thing I look at whenever I see a card, whenever I see a black border card especially, because there's a good chance it could be rebacked.
So, dude, we're at like an hour.
Jesus, man, we've killed it today. This was super fun.
This was super fun. I don't want to leave without having some sort of snap this ups. And I know that you had one sort of based on our conversation. So what are you looking at?
Dude, this is what I say. So my official suggestion, if you want to really cement some value in some cards, and now that you know how to spot some fakes and rebacks, go buy yourself some of the cheap alpha cards out there. And here's why. They are harder to fake. And here's why. Because they have a different border. The border is a different shape. And this works twofold to hold the value of this card. If you just buy an Alpha Mountain, let's say, and right now, you might be thinking they're like $50 for Alpha Mountain. which seems ridiculous for paying for a basic land. I'll remind you, there are more expensive basic lands out there. The Guru lands, there's more expensive basic lands. Foil unhinged lands, I think, are more expensive than that. It's a nice little price to pay for an interesting style of card that the other piece of this is, I don't think they can reprint. And it's because of that rounded alpha border. I was literally looking at cards that would hold value of money that I would put into them, and instantly one of the big things, my big ideas that I thought of this week was those alpha cards, alpha lands. They're so unique, and I don't think the style of having that rounded border will ever be brought back. But they're tournament legal. You can use them. And they're really pretty. Look at how rounded those alpha borders are. Brad's bringing up a picture of it right now. Usually you have like a little bit of a corner in a card. This one is an over-pronunciated, very, very rounded, heavy, far more obtuse angle on each of the corners. Just a very round-looking card. I would suggest, if you want to hold the value of cards, even ones that aren't on the reserved lists that are older cards, these are the ones to get. Get yourself something from Alpha. Do you guys have any cards from Alpha? That's a good question. I noticed that I didn't have any in my collection from Alpha. And that was another reason I was like, I just want one because I know they're never going to reprint this style of border. I want to say that I have a card from the first set. Like, you know what I mean? It is such a collector's item just having any card from this set because of that. And it's so easy to tell. They all have the rounded border. It's very easy to authenticate them, and they hold their value because they're never going to reprint those again. Get yourselves some sort of cheap basic land from Alpha just to say that you have one. Trust me, it will hold its value. They will never reprint that style of card. They're not going to change the shape of the card in Standard Magic. It's going to hold its value very well, and it's just a really cool collector's item.
So most of my thoughts for this week actually are coming out of Time Spiral Remastered and Double Masters.
Ooh.
So best time to buy something is right after the reprint.
Absolutely.
Well, I will tell you what, these cards are moving. Most of them have bottomed out and started to climb back up.
Oof.
So I'm specifically talking about Flagstones of Trocaire.
That's a real good price. That's under $4 right now. $3.98.
$3.98.
Man.
This card has been as high as $20 or more.
Yeah. Jesus.
And you can already start to see that the price has started slowly creeping back up. It's not going down any further than this at this point.
Right. I mean, of course, with anything, barring massive reprints in some other sets, but still, this is one of those easy snap-up cards right here because it's not, even if they reprint it, how much lower is a card like that going to go? You know what I mean? It's very well sought after. It's a huge one in Commander. We were talking about this last week. A lot of people use Flagstones in their Commander decks
which is just so wild to me.
It's wild, but if you think about it, it's because there's some competitive Commander players out there that like to blow up lands. So go ahead and blow that land up, and you just get your value back right away, dude. Yeah, very cool. I like it.
Double 2X Masters has a Avenger of Zendikar foil that's around $8.
What? A foil version of Avenger of Zendikar?
Yeah. And all the other versions have been much higher at different times. There is a Secret Lair printing of it. I'm not as impressed with that. So let's see. That's the Commander that's only ever been in non-foil. The non-foil has been as high as $12 in this printing. The original... the price has never really fluctuated. So I think that the 2X Masters, anyway, Avenger of Zendikar foil, totally worth your consideration. Flagstones of Trocaire is worth consideration. I think there is a lesson to be learned if you go and look at the movement on Chrome Mox. This is the last thing that I'll point out.
Has that spiked up?
Well, and it's just... So if we look at the Double Masters printing, so again, this was just printed Look at the friggin' growth on this card.
Wow.
I mean, it was a mythic from a master set, and there is the full art borderless special treatment Chrome Mox.
Yeah, but look at the regular version of it, like just the non-foil. Is that what the white line is? The non-foil, right?
White line is non-foil.
Yep. So it's, oh my gosh. So it went all the way down to somewhere in the 30s, and now, holy
it's pushing
shit,
60. So it's, I mean, 55 or whatever.
And the foil version is not that far off from it.
No.
Holy hell.
No. So I think, I'm not saying buy Chrome Mox, but I'm saying Chrome Mox is a bellwether for the most playable cards in Double Masters that the prices have bottomed out.
Yeah. Yeah. And
you're past the bottom.
Yeah. And you can see with this, with that chart in particular, like there was actually a time where, the regular version and the foil version were almost the same price. Yeah. And whenever that happens, prefer the foil. Like, just why not? Why wouldn't you?
Yeah, most of the 2X Masters foils are not Pringles. I will say I also have been impressed with Strixhaven and the foils in that set. Oh man, we'll talk next week about those Japanese alt arts and stuff.
Beautiful. Some of them.
I'm looking forward to that. Those cards are gorgeous and the foils are staying flat, so I'm into it.
Amazing. Guys, hey, we hope you learned something from this cast. We're trying to pass off the little tips and tricks that we learned throughout the years, handling so many Magic cards. I hope you picked up something that you can take with you to your regular Magic play, and especially as places start to open back up and trading starts to go nuts. Hopefully you have some tools in your back pocket now to kind of look at some cards that you might have questions about and maybe be able to see some certain things. I want to thank you guys so much for joining us. If you haven't already, please like the video, help us out in this YouTube algorithm, subscribe if you're not already, and spread the word to your friends.
Spread the podcast.
And not the plague.
Woo!
Take care, my